And what's going on, everyone? This is Uchain Joku. Welcome to Sneaker Principle Podcast. Please pardon my tardiness. I am about 15 minutes late jumping on. Had some technical difficulties, so I had to fix those. And a little frustrating, but it's all good. So right now, I'm hoping as I refresh my different platforms that I am live. So I'm right now live on Twitter. I can see that. Let's see what's going on Facebook. Facebook has been giving me some issues, and I'm not sure what's going on there. I am live on Facebook. It took me 6 tries of just trying to get Facebook to connect. So, man, that was a little stressful, but it's all good. I'm here I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. Now let me just make sure I'm on LinkedIn. And let's do this. LinkedIn, what you got for me here? Actually, no, that's not LinkedIn. That is YouTube. So on YouTube right now, I am live on YouTube. And then last but not least, close this one out here, LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, what do you got for me? And yes, all these, bam. So yeah, I'm live everywhere. Guys, you guys need to understand this takes a lot of energy to just get all this going, and I like to do behind the scenes. So let me see if I can just turn this on real quick. So this is my behind the scenes camera. My desk is kind of dirty here. Let me take things out the way. It's a hot mess. So this will be, I believe, it's still coming on. Yep. So this is my behind the scenes camera right here for GoPro. So you can see I have multiple screens going on right now to connect with you this evening. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Let me go back to my main camera. It is Friday, the day after Gratitude Thursday. I have a problem saying Thanksgiving. I'm sorry. In my older age, in my limited but also infinite wisdom, because I think wisdom is infinite if we tap into it. I have a hard time saying Happy Thanksgiving, especially based on the what I was taught in school, and the pilgrims and and all that stuff, and it's a problem for me because a lot of lives were lost in the overtaking of this land, in those conquests for colonies and all that. And so I rather just say, anyone who's asked me, I've said happy holidays, and hopefully you're enjoying this time with your family and you're engaging in gratitude. But I cannot stand for the commercialization of Thanksgiving and all that stuff. It's just not a good look, especially in this world we're living right now. But nonetheless, hopefully you had a good time with your family. I did. I had a chance to go see Wakanda Forever, and that was an excellent film on so many different levels, and it was even more excellent because it reflected the reality that I understand, and I want to talk about that this evening. Wakanda Forever. I'm still out. Listen, I'm sorry, people are starting to move away from this, but I'm still on the Kyrie Irving story, if I can say that. And that's because this whole past couple of weeks has forced me to really tap into, my history and asking myself a lot more poignant questions about who I am in the grand scheme of things. And I was asked this question earlier this evening. Why does it matter? Why does it matter that you need to know who you are? What does that change? And I didn't have an answer to that. I really don't know why it's so important to me to spend as much time as I'm spending studying my tribe, the Igbos in Nigeria, in southeastern Nigeria. I don't know why it's so important to me to really understand what Semitic mean and who the Semitic people are. I really don't know what this means, the grand scheme of things, understanding my bloodline between mitochondrial DNA passed by the two women, one from my mother's side, one from my father's side, that links me to Yoruba people and the Hausa people and Hausas who are Semitic people. You know, I don't know why it matters to me that there's this bludgeoning, this growing space within Igbo people that are engaged in really unpacking their history and their connection to the Holy Lands. You know, and I won't even say Holy Land because I'm not even sure where that is. I'll be honest with you, just my personal opinion. But the Holy Lands of their history, you know, and their connection to the scattered tribes of Israel. So all these things has me thinking, you know, and the question has been, why does it matter? And I'll be honest with you, I don't know why it matters. And in the sense that, you know, it does matter to me because I am one who needs to know, you know, my roots, my history, what the stories are, that oral tradition. Because especially now as a father, that's part of the legacy that I'll pass on to my children, right? And I don't want to pass them the false narrative because that's what I was raised in. I was raised in the false narrative. I was raised to worship a blonde, blue-eyed Jesus, you know, and as I've gotten older and have a better understanding of the world, and have been able to do some research into the historical context of the world, everything from the conquest into Africa into even down to before the birth of Jesus, and everything in all those spaces, and a lot of stories have been told that are just not true. You know, there are stories that have been told that have been meant to shift our consciousness and the way we think about ourselves in a wrong direction. And we're still paying for that to this day. You know, the answer that I gave when I thought even deeper about why does it matter was this. If now, when I read the Bible, you know, and I read the old books, and I have better historical context, and I'm asking myself, what am I seeing as I read this book? When I'm reading about these people, what do they look like? Where are they from? What languages do they speak? How do they move? You know, I'm seeing African people. I just can't get out of my head. I'm not seeing, you know, what's his name? Charleston Heston. Was that his name from Moses, from the old Moses movie? I'm not seeing him anymore. You know, I'm not seeing the Jesus from the Passion. You know, I'm not saying that I'm seeing my skin tone or African people, but I'm seeing hues that make sense for the locations of where these stories came from. But then not only that, you know, I've been building my library. Because the other thing too, I can't just sit on YouTube and say, hey, what does YouTube tell me? You know, because again, these are in my book, those are informal conversations. When I'm watching YouTube videos and they're telling me about the history of the world, and they're telling me about, you know, who the scattered tribes are and all these things, I'm still listening to someone who is, you know, pontificating their opinion. So I found myself, you know, starting to build a library of books, and asking myself, okay, and again, even with books, you're not sure, because again, depending who wrote the book and their ulterior motives and everything else, you can get lies from books as well, or untruths, right? But still, I'm finding myself connecting dots, and these dots, you know, might not necessarily, you know, lead me to what does it all mean, but it makes me very hopeful. It makes me very hopeful because I need a world that is getting better, not getting worse. What do I mean by that? At 46, I still have ingrained in my head, and I'm slowly, with like a little penknife, a metaphorical penknife, you know, chipping away that thing in my head, is chipping away, or scraping it out, that tells me to be very careful how I move around the world, because I'm not as good as certain other people. I have that thing in my head that says I gotta be very careful when I walk into spaces, because my skin tone walks in first. My persona and my physical identification as a black male walks in first, which means I'm ultimately a threat. These thoughts are in my head all the time, and it's funny because I didn't think they were. But as I've gotten older, there are situations I find myself in, and all of a sudden I get little not necessarily panic attacks, but little hypersensitivity. I'm driving, I see a cop car, hypersensitivity. I walk into a store and I'm trying to get help, and I feel like maybe they might be ignoring me. Hypersensitivity. I walk into spaces and I feel like I have to change the way I speak and enunciate and be a little bit more proper, so that I can be seen beyond just, the dude in the hoodie and the baseball cap. Hypersensitivity. Like, I have to present as safe for other people, other human beings just like me. Hypersensitivity. These things are an issue. And these are issues that I do not want passed to my son, nor my daughter. Right now, she's 4, he's 2.5. And I am deathly worried that they're going to be grown up into a world, and when they're 46, they might be having the same conversation I'm having with you right now about not feeling safe. Feeling less than, or just not as good as, no matter what you do. It doesn't matter the Columbia degree and University of Rochester and the years and the awards and all these accolades mean nothing. Because at the end of the day, what people will see is the black suspect in a hoodie and a baseball cap. And again, these are things that do disturb my spirit. So as I'm researching and digging even deeper into my identity as connected to the Igbo tribe and who we are and where we came from, it's kind of given me a sense of pride, if I could call it that, to learn more, to be able to put into images in my head and put into words, a story, a history, whether true or false, that feels so powerfully real. That also answers a lot of questions for me about the things that the Igbo people do, and the things that I know as growing up that made no sense to me, but now makes so much more sense to me. I'm trying to find the words right now. I'll be honest with you. But one of the things too I'm noticing about myself is that I hold back a lot. I don't allow myself to just just fly with it, just speak my mind. I'm very measured, I'm very calculated. And the problem with that is, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. But however, when I'm with my friends and family, I do speak my mind. And I'm often asked by people that I know, how come you don't say that on the podcast? How come you don't talk about that? And the fact is, I don't feel safe. How do you speak your truth if you don't feel safe? If you feel like what you're going to say might lead to self-destruction. and not necessarily self-imposed self-destruction imposed by others, society's rules, and all these things that we're told that we can and can't do. And when I say that we can't or can't do, only certain people, while other people can do these things, and it's not a big deal. It's just the way it is. Pardon me. Had to quench a little thirst there. And I'll be honest with you, I really do. I really want to just fly and just speak. But again, not always sure that it's okay. Thank you so much, Lee Wins. Thank you so much. But I'm definitely speaking truth, but it's also a very pull back, held back type of truth. It's funny. I gotta tell you this. I don't know if any of you guys follow this brother, the lead attorney. I got to give him a shout out. I watch him, from the sidelines, and I watch his content, and it's funny because I watch him speak, and he said something. I was watching a video earlier today. Something he said that stuck with me. He talked about how he walked away from being an attorney and started doing this YouTube thing, and really started pushing his own truth around and try to help people around divorces and child support and things of that nature. And it's funny because I remember watching him in the beginning and just watching his content and observing him expand himself and be able to say and do things that really helped a lot of people. But I used to ask myself, like, man, some of the stuff he's saying, isn't it possible that some of this stuff can really hinder his ability to move forward? Is it possible these things that he's saying that, even though there's nothing wrong with it, it's just that he's speaking a truth that's very uncomfortable for certain people. Would that hinder him in any way? But it's funny. But what's interesting about that is we often as Black people, and I'm gonna use the word Black broadly, for lack of better terms, but people of color who are heavily marginalized, we walk very carefully, and to the point where we're not even willing to admit to the fact that we are often complacent in the things that we see happen in society to us and our own people, because we are taught to be very cautious, because if you step into that space, you might self-implode. If that makes any sense. I spent 17 years in public education, and of that 17 years, six of those years, I was a high school principal, a middle school and high school principal. And often, things would happen that I was completely not in agreement with, from central office, from the district, from my superintendent, whoever it was. I was just like, nah, that's not popping. But I'll tell you something, I wouldn't say anything. I would always have to find a way to manipulate the situation so that I can get I can get what I needed and have what needs to happen for the betterment of my students. Now, I'd be given a program. I'm like, this program, I know it's not going to work. This is garbage. But I would be told, like, listen, this is mandated. The whole entire district has to do this. I would have to find a way to circle around it or to pretend it's being used and do something different which would always end up yielding better results anyway. But I would never ever say, nope, this is garbage, I'm not doing this, and this is why I'm not doing it. Because at the end of the day, I never felt I had the freedom. Even though I'm a principal like other principals, I never thought I had a freedom as a black principal, as a black male principal, to push back against authority. So I had to kind of, be like, yes, a boss, yes, a master. Then get back to my school and be a Django, and do what I need to do. But even when you're doing that, you have to be very, very careful because you don't know who's watching, who's going to want to snitch, who's trying to get your position, all these different things. Again, not feeling safe. Not feeling safe. So you have to kind of like manipulate situations to fit for your situation. Share this real quick. Lewin says, I understand as a mother of two black sons, my boys feel they're equal to everyone else, but by the color of their skin makes them not the same. Sad to say. Very true. Listen, I'm again 46 years old. Degrees up the butt. I'm telling you, like I've done it. West African immigrant to America in the early '80s. Grew up lived in Watts, South Central LA, Inglewood, California, gang banging, pimping, crackheads, all that stuff was all around prostitution, all around me growing up, getting to school and everything else. Then from there, got myself to the University of Rochester, had did my thing there, graduated, eventually went into education, went to Columbia University, got my master's there, have awards from Columbia, all these recognition fellowships and all these different things, which should put me in equal footing to any of my colleagues. But I can't, I'm not. And I'm not, and the funny thing is not that I'm not in equal footing because I feel like I'm not in equal footing. The rules that we have to play by makes it very, very clear that you better do what you're told, and not buck the system if you want to survive. Doesn't matter how good you are. Think about this, and I think I'm going kind of off topic, but I'm still on topic. The number of schools in America that are struggling, I'm talking about struggling, failing, that are led by principles of color. I want to say something. Many of these school leaders, they know what needs to be done. They know exactly what needs to be done. They know what they need to do to turn those schools around, to support those families, to get those kids back on track. But they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to. They're given just enough to keep the doors open, just enough to keep the lights on, just enough to have the teachers not walk out and strike and protest, just enough. And again, just enough for the top kids there to graduate. But not everybody else. And again, these people can't, I'll be honest with you, these principals, these school leaders, some of these teachers, they can't fight back. Because again, if they push too hard, then they're removed. So what they do, they kind of stay there and they do their best. I, over the course of my career, struggled with that. I've never worked in a top-rated school. Never have. And again, by choice. I've worked in schools that have been the most struggling schools, that have had the most issues. And for me to make it work in these schools, I'll tell you what I had to do. I had to steal from what we call it, you rob Peter to pay Paul. I was always doing things and manipulating things and and doing what I had to do and moving resources to make sure I can fund the right programs and make sure we had the right stuff in my school. And sometimes there were times I was told, "What are you doing? It's not what you were told to do." And I'll be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I already paid for that. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't understand. I had to play stupid." I had a superintendent, I'm telling you right now, anything that I did had to tell me all the time, like, "No, that's not what I said. That's not what we agreed upon. Why do you have to be different? Why do you have to be difficult in Joku?" And I would just play, I would literally play stupid. I'm like, I okay, I'm sorry. So, okay, let me write this down. So what is it exactly you want me to do? Like, I had to play dumb and kiss a lot of ass just to be able to turn attention away from me long enough for me to finish putting the programs I wanted to put in place and then get the results back. So that she will still be mad at me, but she can't do shit to me because my scores went up. And again, that's a difficult way to lead a school. But it's the reality beyond just leading the school of just living and just existence, always having to prove yourself, always having some time to dumb yourself down so that attention is taken away from you so you can do great things. And then when those great things happen, listen, when those scores went up, you know what I did? I gave her all the credit. "Superintendent, this was your idea. You gave me the space and time and patience to get this done." No, you didn't. But these are the things I would have to say just to make sure that there wasn't any blowback from me not following those directives so I can maximize the performance of my students, so I can create a safe space for them, so I can create a school environment where they would walk in and want to be there every day. And sadly, this is the reality for a lot of school leaders, for a lot of good black, brown men and women out there who lead in schools, and they know that they're literally being set up to fail. But however, they stay there because they know if they're not there, the kids who are there are not going to get what they deserve and what they need. So going back to what I was saying originally about what does it all mean? This space that I'm at, as far as, doing deeper study to who I am, buying all these books, um, going beyond just being Igbo and trying to understand the history of who we are. It's funny because I've seen stuff like before they were slaves and slavery and all this stuff, and I'm like, now the narrative is changing. Where we weren't slaves. We weren't, colonized. We were kidnapped. We were invaded. And with that being said, I don't know why. It's given me this need to really, 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 plant both feet, all 10 toes down, and ask myself, at 46, who do I want to be for the next 46 years of my life? God willing. How long? That stuff in my. I'm sorry, I had something on my lips. What's that? How long do we continue to just survive? To move about cautiously all the time. And caution is important. But caution shouldn't be the continuous reality of our existence. That's why I say that watching Wakanda Forever was a really good movie, but it also pained me in many ways. It pained me in many ways, you know. But let me talk about why it was good first. I love the way they honored Chadwick Boseman. You know, I think for a lot of us, we didn't know him personally, but we felt like we knew him personally. He felt like a brother, uncle, a cousin, a neighbor. That dude down the block, you were like, yo, that dude, man, talented. He just felt like that guy, right? And his passing was just so shocking. But then when you look back on all the footage and all those interviews that he had during the time frame when he was fighting cancer, you notice and you realize that this man was putting his body and his mind through so much just to give us this thing, this thing, Wakanda, this thing, Black Panther. This moment in time in which our collective pride converged on a film. So I love the way they honored him in it, and I love the way it was, in my opinion, was very well written, very well tied in, And I can tell you, there was definitely times watching this film I was fighting back tears because I was just like, I could feel the pain. Even in the actors, I could see that when I saw those tears in the film, those weren't fake tears. Those tears were coming from a very painful space. And I also really enjoyed, the way they pulled in Mayan culture. Namor. I love Namor's character so much. And I'm sorry, I'm a big Killmonger fan. Because I understand his militancy. I understand his unwillingness to just be because it's what you want me to be. I understand his need, Killmonger's need to, Michael B. Jordan, right? Killmonger's character he played in Black Panther. I enjoyed his need to understand, truly understand the historical context, but not only just understand the historical context, his need to have a collective action to fix the problem. The way he wanted to fix it was wild, right? But I understand that. The scene in the scene when Namor, spoiler alert, if you don't want to hear this, please turn the volume down. The scene where he goes to bury his mother and what he sees, the enslavement of his people and his actions, I totally understand it. I totally understand it. It's funny how this film, makes me very envious of a fictional place and fictional people who have the ability to walk fearlessly in full pride and not giving two fucks about anybody else and what they have to say. The scene in which, the Queen is sitting in what looks like to be the United Nations, right? And she literally told them, like, listen, you have no authority whatsoever. She was literally like, I wish y'all would. You want this vibranium? I wish y'all would. And you saw the faces of all these other nations, United States and France, and the fear of really knowing we can't do anything about this. We can't do anything to Wakanda. And I would say this, for me, Wakanda is a metaphor for not just a place, not just Africa, for a state of being, a state of mind in which you are completely in charge of your existence. That is what's missing from all of us collectively. We're so busy fighting for space in a land that's not ours, fighting for recognition and for love in a space that doesn't love us. And Wakanda, again, yes, it's a movie, right? Yeah, it's a comic book. But if you pay attention to that film, spoiler alert, I'm not giving away anything major, but there were certain things that were said in that film that I love the intentionality of plugging it in there. Did anybody notice when man, I'm bad with the names. When the princess, what's her name? Damn, old age is kicking in, right? But when she goes into the Namor's kingdom, and he's showing her around, right? And she's waving to the people, and there's a young girl who waves at her, and she says to her, "Shalom." I was like, I was like, wait a minute. She said shalom, peace. She didn't say shalom in any other language. Any language that could be used that's from Africa. Not even Arabic, salam. Not even English, peace. She said shalom. And she said it with a smile on her face and this deep. There was this the way it was said and done was like this space of love. And I was like, why did they pick Hebrew and shalom? For her to express her reverence and her greeting of these people. You know, these people of Namor's people. Then the next scene is when she's, in the ancestral plane having a conversation with Killmonger. Again, spoiler alert. And Killmonger, he's going through his diatribe of like, yo, what needs to happen? He's that very pre-Mecca Malcolm X, right? And he says about the scattered tribes. He didn't say lost tribes. He said the scattered tribes. At least I think that's what I heard him say. Maybe he might have said lost, but I swear he said scattered tribes. I just remember thinking to myself, like, wow. Somebody in that script room, someone was paying attention and setting codes out there. Sending codes out there to us to pay attention. Scattered tribes, which is the proper terminology for the lost tribes of Israel. They're not lost. We're just scattered. We're literally just scattered. Africa, India, the New World, Mayans, Aztecs. We're scattered. We scattered and we blended into all these other spaces. But the blood doesn't lie. The blood is strong. The blood is there. I've been to one of the Mayan ruins in Mexico. And I've seen it with my own eyes. And as a child, I went to Egypt with my father. And I'll tell you this. The energy, the awe, the understanding this is a different place was the same feeling as the Mayan ruins that I saw and the pyramids of Giza. The same feeling of there's something more here. Something familiar here. All these symbols are shown in that film. There's a sense of a need to. At least I walked away with a sense of a need to discover what I'll call the Wakanda energy. It's not, for me, it's not just fiction anymore. It's a state of mind. It's a state of function. It's a state of pride. It's a state of power. And until we have the better name for it, I'm just going to call it the Wakanda energy. And maybe that's all. Maybe that's the answer to that question I was asked earlier today. What does it all mean? It means to me that we have to. I take that back. I have to, because again, I can't control everybody else. I can only control me. I have to find my voice and my course of action that's going to benefit me, my children, my people, my tribe, my nations for the next 46 years of my existence, and God willing more. My grandfather made it to 116, and I'm praying that I'm going to get to that too. For 46, I don't look too bad. I got a little gray going on here, but I feel strong as an ox. But the next 46 years has to be a life that's devoted to, living in strength and power. And this is what I hope for all of you who are listening, that you join me in finding your strength and power and not having to kowtow, not having to make yourself small so people around you, feel safe. What is that about? I want to be strong and powerful. But the thing about being strong and powerful doesn't mean I'm out here subjugating other people. That's what they did. I want to be strong and powerful because my connection to God and my people and my children and my loved ones require me to be strong and powerful, so I can keep them protected, and I can also make sure that my children have the space to grow, to become the greatness that God intended them to be. Please do not let the happenings of now fade into darkness again. Do not let what's been happening and all these conversations and Kyrie and Kanye and anti-Semitism and Wakanda and even addressing the issues in our community, the evils and the wrongs that are happening. Do not let this space just be another moment in time. It's time for us to really stand up and move with pride and do what is needed to make sure our community, our world, our families are able to move with that level of Wakanda pride and take action that benefits us all as tribesmen, as brothers, as sisters. I think that's all I have to say for this evening. I have a lot in my mind. I have a lot of books to read. And as a matter of fact, let me see if I have enough length here of my headphones to reach in and share some of these books with you. One moment. All right. So this is the last let's say 5 minutes of this podcast. And those of you who are listening, I'm sorry, but I'll so you won't be able to see it, but I will read the name of these books to you. So this is the most recent books that I've ordered. I got, I think, one more coming, and I'm literally, and I think I have 3 audiobooks as well. So again, this is all came from my getting very confused when Kyrie was called anti-Semitic, and his response being that he knew who he was, so he can't be anti-Semitic if he knows who he is. and people had an uproar, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's being disrespectful. Let's make him pay $500,000 to the Anti Defamation League and whoever else, right?" So because of that video, I started doing deeper dives, like trying to figure out and watching other videos, like what I need to understand this more, because I think I have an idea from stories I heard growing up, at least about my people, about the Igbo tribe, and also know there's other tribes, Yorubas and the Lembas of South Africa, and the Ethiopians, and just spread across the continent. So these are the books. So this one here, I don't know if you can see that. You know, uh, light here is kind of bright. So this one's called "Hiding the Hebrews: A Deep the America Kidnapped the Lost Tribes of Israel" by Dante Fortson. So the next one here is, and this I believe was a self-published book. So it's a little book here. Other one here, this is from the Oxford Press. So I think it's very important. Oxford University Press. You know, the Oxford in England, one of the oldest universities in the world. They won't produce any kind of text that's not well vetted. So this book here is called "The Black Jews of Africa: History, Religion, Identity" by Edith Bruder. So this is from the Oxford University Press. Joseph Williams, Hebrewisms of West Africa. And I'm trying to see if I know what university he's from. I think he's from the West Indies, but still. So that's the other book here. From Babylon to Timbuktu: A History of Ancient Black Races, including Black Hebrews, by Rudolph R. Windsor. Right there. Then this is the first in 2 volumes. I'm waiting for the second volume to get here. The March of Igbo. The March of Igbo. So, and that's my tribe. I'm Igbo. So this is kind of a history of the Igbos, based on the research of this is a Professor Emeritus John Anenechukwu Ume. He's an Igbo Nigerian professor, and he studied at University of London and at Cambridge. So nothing to scoff at here. This dude is the real deal, and he's written 16 books. So this is the volume 1. Volume 2 is in the mail, and then last but not least, as far as the books, physical books that I have here, is this one here. This is my favorite right now. I'll be honest with you. This is my favorite right now. And let me see if I can do it overhead. So I can show you why this is my favorite. Can I? Hey, here we go. So again, if you're listening on YouTube, it's to this podcast. This sucks. So you could do me a favor, jump on YouTube so you can actually see what I'm showing. So this book right here is called Undeniable. It's called A Full Color Evidence of Black Israelites in the Bible by Dante Folston, who wrote the other book, Did They Kidnap the Black Israelites? I think this is interesting because I'm a picture person. I love this. I've always been a visual learner. And what's interesting is I'm going to go through it the way I went through it. I went through from the back. And I was looking at these images. And again, these are things that you don't see here in America, So I don't know if you can see that. That is a statue for Black Jesus. And this is the Black Nazarene in Quiapo district of Manila, Philippines. This is a Holy Prophet Nahum. Again, these are, I'm not even sure who Nahum is. I'm gonna have to figure him out, but clearly a black man there. Prophet Elijah sent into heaven in fiery chariot. And again, these are old ancient pictures. And again, he's depicted as black here. Then here's a kneeling nobleman before the Black Madonna. And this one is dated 1781. And I don't know if you can see that. But right there, that's Black Mary and Black Jesus. And that's a white man kneeling, and it says 1781. And I'm sorry, this art style is definitely not African. This is very European, right? Um, this picture here, I think this goes with this. This is from 1871, meeting our Lord in temple. So this looks like, I'm not sure if that's Mary and that's Jesus. It looks like a little baby there, but all the characters are all black, all like my skin tone, literally. Transfiguration icon by Theophanes the Greek, 15th century. Again, I mean, look that up there. That is Jesus, right? And all the characters on here are all of color. It's Christ Pantocrator, 18th century, again. And not only black skin, but very Afro-Asiatic eyes, clearly Semitic, if you want to say that. 16th century King Solomon, the 16th century. So that would have been 1500s. Another one here, this 17th century, 1688. And this is, again, Black Mary, Black Jesus, and all these prophets. And this is from Moscow in Russia, 1688. And my confusion is, again, what's going on here? That all these images are in Europe. Again, Russia, 1650. Every person in this is they're all black. 1600s. Abraham. Again, detail Abraham and sons. Again, everybody's, and I'm like, what? Like, I'm very confused. And this one blew my mind. Pope Francis at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. I know they have, white marble, but why is that? And again, these are things that I think I'm very curious about. I'm trying, and I want to learn again. Again, look at these. So these are things that are interesting. It's 15th century, and this looks very African. Mary and Jesus. Again, another one, Madonna and Child. And this one here is in Switzerland. This one here is in France. And I'm just asking myself, why does this exist in Europe and not in Africa or not in our communities? Why, like, what is going on here again? Look at this, 54 AD. This is 54 years. So this is a copy. This is the original, was said to have been made in 54 AD. Again, a Black Mary and Child. So again, these are all things that are just blow my mind. But again, I'm not here trying to apostate or get anyone to convert to anything, onto my side of thinking. Not at all. But I'm just sharing with you what I'm doing and my needs to really, follow these paths, because I feel there's an answer in all this that can really help us as a people move forward. And I might be wrong about that. I don't know, but I just want to share that with you. All right, I'm done for this evening. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Much love, much respect. Thank you, Sister Lee Wins. I really appreciate you for being on here this evening. And those of you who are watching who stayed all the way through, much appreciated. Please do me a favor. Just share this. Share the link to this video on all your social media platforms. Help me regrow this, and I'm promising you, moving forward, I'm going to be really touching on and pushing your thinking in directions to help you. Tap into your inner Wakandan strength. And that's the thing, that Wakanda energy. We gotta tap into that. I want us walking around with a sense of pride, a sense of excellence, a sense of confidence that lets everybody else know. Either you join us or you just step out the side. Step to the side. Let us do our thing. And that's what I want for myself. That's what I want for my children. That's what I want for you. So with that being said, have an amazing, amazing night. Be well, and I'll see y'all Sunday at 10 p.m. All right? Peace.
And now he's been promoted. His job, principal.